You know what? I'll just say this. Is the grocery store going to get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned?
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something,
Yeah.
am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming.
Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope that you're having a really good day so far. If you are new here, my name is Taylor. I come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland, and here on my YouTube channel, I feature content that is generally focused on knitting and spinning. In today's episode of what I call the Thread to Mend podcast, I'm going to sit down and share with you the things that I'm currently working on, most of which is preparing my fine wool fleeces to spin. And so I have brought upstairs from my dining room, which is where I store all of my wool fleeces. I don't know why I have as much fleece as I do, but I have been watching a ton of the Murdoch Murder podcast. And I brought them up here to show off to you and talk a little bit about their qualities and the things that I love about them, the things that maybe I wish were different, but we're gonna get into that soon. I did last week record and share with you all my yarn room clear out. So I will insert right now a quick little clip of the final results. I thought I would show it to you before I completely destroy it again with pulling all of these things out today for today's video. There were a couple things that I pulled out that I do need to address sooner than later. One is a big pile of yarn I have crocheted into this freeform hooded sort of cloaky thing. I was crocheting this almost 15 years ago. And I never intend to finish this. I've been meaning to frog it for quite a long time, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to frog this yarn, and I hope to either work this into a shawl or maybe a couple pillow covers for around the house. I think that this fabric does tend to shed a little bit, but I wonder if I were to work it into maybe a tighter stitch gauge, or maybe if it were knit versus crochet, I don't know, maybe it would shed less. It's a Cascade yarn. I don't have a band around to tell you exactly what it is, but I bought this yarn, like I said, maybe 15 years ago off of yarn.com. It's a single ply worsted or Aran weight sort of camel wool blend. I don't know, it's very hairy, and I love the color. This is one of my favorite colors. So I'm going to repurpose this yarn into something like, I guess maybe a stash for a little while. I could possibly work it into a shawl, like I said, but we'll see. You can see that there's like, I mean, I don't know if you can see that, but it'll just shed and shed and shed. So I don't know. I don't know if I really want to wear it. I think it'd be really nice home decor type of vibe. So this is something I have to get to in the immediate future just to fully, finally clean up the space. And there's a lot of that I want to cast on and I want to do. I also pulled out of a corner of this room this gorgeous little, it's actually not little, it's, well, it is small, like it's very small, but it's a very long vintage acrylic, I think made in Korea cardigan. A lot of really cute vintage stuff is made in Korea. I don't know what our trade negotiations were back then, but you don't find a lot of stuff made in Korea currently in the US. A lot of things are made in other kind of like Southeast Asian factories and stuff, but Anyway, there is a rip to one of the strands here along the sleeve, and I think along the back as well. I need to just pull out a crochet hook and some wool thread. I think that this is actually, well, I know it's 100% acrylic blend, but I think the quality of the acrylic will match to the wool a little bit better. And because it is knit, I don't plan to really machine wash or dry this. So I'm going to use some of my crewel embroidery thread to finish up the little repair work to this piece, because I feel like a mercerized cotton thread would really kind of stand out a little bit more in terms of texture and the reflection of light. So that is that on that. You might have seen in last week's video, so many people have seen that video. I was shocked at the views I got on my recent podcast video, and if you are new to my channel, welcome. I have some new subscribers here, which is exciting. I hope you stick around. I don't know, we'll see. A lot of the times people find me and then they leave. So we are approaching, I think, almost 12,000 subscribers here on my channel, which is astounding to me. I am so grateful for each and every one of you being here. If you're watching this video, thank you. You all mean a lot to me. So anyway, I do want to mend this so that I can tuck it into my drawer at work. This is going to be my work cardigan that I keep on hand in case I feel chilly, because you know, soon the air conditioning will be back on and I want to be prepared. Because I didn't make it, I don't feel like I'm going to miss it if I don't have it. So that's my plan for this. I just have to make that repair. Before we get into the fleece, I will show you that I have finished the body of my, what is now affectionately named the pendant pullover. I had so many wonderful suggestions from you all on what to name my new pullover design, and pendant is very reminiscent of this little motif at the front. It's a little pendant, but I loved the name, one, because alliteration is my friend, but also I have a cat colony of, once was as large as 13 cats. It has now shrunk over the last 5 years to just 5 cats. And one of my, well, they're all my favorites, but one of my favorite, sweetest little girls is named Pendant. She is an all black cat with a little white pendant at her chest. And when that name was suggested, it really felt like, I don't know, it just kind of tugged at my heartstrings a little bit. When I look at this motif, I think of community and support and all of the warm, fuzzy things when people come together in community. And I feel like maybe with my cat colony, I have a community. I have a community going on there in real life. Mostly it lives online. I did just join the, I don't know the actual name of it, but over on the Stitches and Starlight channel, she runs a Discord. Tazi runs a Discord, and I just joined that, and boy, my online community has just exploded. I feel really happy to have landed in that little place online. So where was I? Anyway, and I'm pretty happy with it. I wish that the neckline was a little bit wider. I don't love, it's not a high neckline, there's certainly shaping to it. I just can't not be transparent with my thoughts and feelings about everything I do. And if I were to go back, I would make the back neck wider. So if you, should I just show it on, I'll just put it on now and I'll show it to you. I'll put it on over top of my crew neck tee, so you can see this is like a regular crew neck. It fits above the sort of collarbone. This is from a YouTube channel. I'm obsessed with James Prigioni.
What's going on, growers? It's James Prigioni coming to you live from Jersey.
Every time I watch one of his videos, I have to like say the intro along with him, but I don't know what I'm saying at this point. Anyway, boy, I'm glad you're here, because I was not feeling good earlier, and now that I'm sitting down and talking with you all, I feel like just better. Because I was starting to get a little critical of this pattern I'm going to show you, and I don't know, am I seeking reassurance? Maybe. I just really want to talk through my feelings right now, because my intention was to knit the absolute best pattern ever, and I don't feel like it is. Should have taken my glasses off before I did that. I did knit the collar with just a few rounds of twisted rib. If I originally created this garment with a wider neck. I would have done more rounds, to be completely transparent. I wish that the neck was just a little bit more wide. I do like my sweaters to kind of fit a little bit more relaxed around the neck, just because this one being silk mohair, if I'm overheated, it can be a bit itchy, and so I don't want it to be too close to my throat, but it does sit kind of just beneath the collarbones, which are sort of like, that's my boundary. I don't really want sweaters fitting higher than that. So it's not too high by any means, but I did have to kind of skirt that edge with a very narrow collar. So there's that. I'm gonna take this off because I'm getting a little overheated. Last week I talked a lot about casting on new things. I've not cast on anything. I was very determined to finish the body of that sweater. You might already know that I've set out a goal for myself to spin a skein of yarn every single week until the Maryland Sheep and Wool Festival, which is the first weekend of May. I have spun 4 skeins over the last 5 weeks. Last week, I intentionally took a pause so that I could prepare some fiber for combing. I have quite a few fine wool fleeces in my stash that do need to be rescoured, and so I have set out to rescour 1 out of 3 full fleeces that I need to ready. Well, I don't need to, I want to. I have right here, this is just a small quantity of some of that fiber that I've scoured this week, and oh my goodness, this is some of the finest of fine wool. I believe this was a merino fleece that I picked up at Maryland one year. One thing that I can say about this fleece that I really, really love is that the color of this dark chocolate brown is super, super consistent. Like, it is almost all one shade. There's just a few areas where there's maybe a little bit more gray, but there's almost no tips that are bleached by the sun. I think that this must have been wearing a coat to protect the fibers from sun bleaching. They're also very short though. The staple length to this fleece is, I mean, stretched out it might be 3 inches, which is sort of the hand spinner's like minimum. So that's one thing that this fleece is lacking, is in staple length. It's still plenty spinnable, don't get me wrong. And I have spun a small skein from this fleece. Actually, this is all I have left over. I did spin this yarn into a single skein right when I scoured it the first time, and I knit that into a Caitlin Hunter t-shirt pattern that I knit years ago. And now that I have rescoured this fleece, I think it's going to be so much easier to work with, and I have a whole bag of it here. I'll try not to make the plastic crunchy sounds. Between these two, I have about 270 grams ready for combing. So that's at least 2 weeks. And then I have about that same amount more to still scour. So I've been scouring the last few weeks, but I still have a lot more to go. And that's just one of 3 fleeces I hope to rescour. I have combed already about 120 grams of this other fleece. It's also a dark chocolate brown, but this one has a little bit more variegation in the color. You will see that there are some areas that are a little bit more light and kind of a richer, warmer brown. A little less gray fibers throughout it that kind of give it a little bit of a sparkle, a little sheen. This fleece is very, very flat. It is a flat, matte color, and it's a little bit more warm toned. About 1/3 of this staple is a little bit lighter in color, and this fleece has some tippiness to it. These little tips just break right off, and the staple length is very long in comparison. If I were to hold these two together, it's almost twice as long. So really excited to spin this. I think it's going to spin itself. It is already scoured to the same quality as the one I'm rescouring now. So this is the fleece I have next in my queue to spin. I think it's going to make a really nice contrast color to a lot of other yarns in my stash already. Whether they're hand spun or not, I think it could add itself well to a shawl design, perhaps, I don't know, but I do want to spin this gorgeous long staple chocolate brown while I continue to prep my shorter staple dark brown to have it in my stash just ready to go whenever. But I think once I'm done scouring that one and done spinning this one, I'm going to take a break from actually spinning the shorter fiber one and switch to a white fleece. Now this is a fleece that I have cherished since I took it home. It's probably one of the best fleece purchases I've ever made, and I've just kind of hoarded it away for quite a long time. Now I do have to rewash this one as well, just to scour a lot of the lanolin out of it. But this one, it feels like a memory foam pillow. It's so squishy and it's so dense. It would benefit from another washing, but it has cat hair in it. Dang it. Some of this fiber actually wouldn't even need to be rescoured. There's some batches of this wool that I washed that were scoured a little less than others. Some of these little tufts I could certainly comb out and spin as is, and I don't know if I'm going to try to rescour all of it or just most of it. This fleece is a pillow. It is like a memory foam squishy squish squish. This fiber has a little bit more of a stable length than the shortest one, not quite as much as the one I just reviewed, but the tips to this fleece are in perfect condition. There's no tipping, there's no felting, it's very clean, and the quality of the fiber feels like it's perfect, like it was a really healthy sheep, and it's just really resilient, really squishy, really bouncy. I only spun this single skein from this fleece, and I knew it was special when I found it and when I scoured it, and I kind of just hoarded it away. And because I've had what I felt like was the perfect white fleece in my stash, I have not brought home a white fleece since. And as you can tell, I have a lot of preparation to do and a lot of spinning ahead of me of some fine white fiber. So this one I think is really kind of everything. I think that the color is great. It's a cream. It's not a pure white. You will see white fine wool fleeces that are so white they almost are like purple, and you'll see the price reflected in those as well. This is a more affordable white. It's a little softer. There's no canarying to this fiber that makes it very yellow looking in any area that can stain the fiber. It feels very pure. It's a pure white. It's just not the whitest of white. So it's more of a cream. And if I were to pull this off my wall to show you, I did spin this years ago. I haven't even looked at this closely in a long time. This is the only skein of yarn that I ever spun from this fleece, and it has so much bounce to it. I would say this is probably like a fingering weight 2-ply. It has, the most density I've ever felt, and it's sticky with lanolin. This is a really sticky yarn, and it's nice to spin yarn with a little lanolin. It's a lot less fun to comb yarn with a little bit of lanolin. So I think when I did this, I thought, wow, that was fun. I love the end product so much, but I didn't really want to comb through all that stickiness. So what I intend to do is re-wash this yarn with some of my Mrs. Meyer's dish soap and hot soapy water, and in smaller batches. And I'm gonna see if I can get this a little bit less sticky with that lanolin to want to spin soon. So once I finish up the dark fleece, I anticipate having enough of this clean and ready to go that I can spin that. I wish I had maybe just started scouring this one, because I do want to spin this one sooner than later. I'm kind of agonizing over this, can you tell? And then I have one more. The last fleece in my stash of fine wools to review is this Other fleece I got from New York State Sheep and Wool Festival. I did not do a very good job scouring this one. It's very sticky. I have sticky residue on my hands just from touching it. And it just still has a lot of lanolin left in there. And that is mostly because it is really challenging to get lanolin out of these fine wools that have so many fibers in such a small space. But one thing that really helps, and I've been doing the last several fleeces that I did not do when scouring this fleece, is before I do my very first soak, I will gently comb out both the tips of the fiber, but also the cut end of the fiber, and I will open the locks up a little bit on both sides. But I have really learned the long and hard way is that by opening up the tips of both ends of the fiber, you're creating a nice open channel for that lanolin to kind of pour out. It does tend to get stuck in the areas where the fibers are kind of crunched together and stuck together. So if I were to recommend anything out there to any of you that are maybe considering processing your first fine wool fleece, I would say definitely, whether you're using a dog comb or a hairbrush, or you might have purchased some I use hand carders. I definitely recommend combing out both ends before soaking and then doing a wash. So I don't even really want to think about processing this fleece right now because it's just so sticky and I have so much to do. I am most excited to spin this fleece and scour the white one and then just see where I'm at. I think that is several weeks ahead of myself right now. So those are my spinning goals. I wonder if you have any spinning goals going on right now, if you're planning to attend Maryland's Sheep and Wool Festival, what you're readying yourself for. I know I'm excited to shop the fleece barn. It's the very first thing that I do once I get there, and I spend probably the first hour to 90 minutes inside the fleece barn, checking everything out, carrying as many as I can, and then making the final decision at the end which one I'll take home before checkout. So I cannot wait. And until then, I do want to I do want to knit from my hand spun that I've shown in the last several weeks. I'm actually going to pull these out now because I do want to cake one of these up and begin a swatch for the Celeste Tea by Sari Nordland. I've seen a few comments about I think multiple viewers left a comment on a recent video about how well written her patterns are and how well that they fit. So I'm very excited to cast on my first Sari Nordland pattern. And yeah, so this is destined to be a Celeste Tea. I'm going to have to alternate skeins so that I don't get too much striping. I think one of them sort of stands out from the rest, being a little bit darker. Because it's DK, I think it might be a quick knit. It's also lace, so I'm getting way ahead of myself here. And then I also have had these skeins of yarn set aside to, I keep saying spin, to knit Andrea Mowry's Velocore t-shirt. I think that might be a really nice spring summer wardrobe piece. It's something I've thought about making for quite a while, and she's doing her March to May knit along, so I thought I would participate in that knit along while I can. And then if it's a really warm day, I might wear this or the Celeste Tea to the Maryland Sheep and Wool. That is it for this week's episode of the Thread to Mend podcast. If you made it this far, let me know in a comment below with the yellow heart emoji. And I don't know why that one. I think because I just love the color yellow. And I want to thank you all so much for being here. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to find me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me on TikTok as Taylor Knits. Again, I want to thank you all so much for being here. I hope that you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care.